Hello everybody and welcome to another live stream with the IELTS Grind. So you've got me, Phil, today, and we're pretty excited because we're starting a brand new course. So for the rest of July we will be going live every single day. So you'll either see myself, Phil, or Michael, or you'll hear us at least. And we're going to go through a mini course, and we're going to be looking at different aspects of the IELTS all this month. So if you want to join us for the lessons, all you have to do is come along to the IELTSgrind.com. If you click on live stream schedule on the menu bar up here, and you'll see that we've got our schedule. So if you're joining us for the first time here at the IELTS Grind, we are based in Taipei in Taiwan. So all our times are based on the time in Taipei, which is, it's just after 8 o'clock in the evening now. So you can see our schedule here. It's rather long because it takes us all the way to the 1st of August. So what's going to happen is each day we're going to look at a different aspect of the exam. So today it's me, Phil, and we're going to look at some vocabulary. And tomorrow we'll do some listening. On Wednesday, Michael is looking at some reading questions. I'm back doing some writing on Thursday. And then on Friday evening, I will be doing some mock speaking exams. You can join me on Zoom or Google Meet and actually have a full speaking exam, absolutely free, and we'll give you some feedback. And then Michael's going to do a brand new thing on Saturday where we're going to get a few of you to join us in a group speaking class. We're going to do this on our Discord server, which you can join by clicking on this button here. It's absolutely free. And you'll be able to interact with Michael. He'll give you some feedback, some tips. And the really exciting thing we're going to be doing is on Sunday, we're going to create a full mock exam for you, which we're going to live stream. So you'll have a go at doing listening questions, full exam, a full writing and reading exam, and a speaking exam. Now the speaking exam, it will be kind of pre-recorded, so you can do it anytime that you want. So this will be running all day. So this is quite an exciting thing. So that's our schedule. So you can come to the IELTSgrind.com and live stream schedule and find exactly what time we're going to start and what we'll be looking at. So really do look at that full exam, because that's going to be a great practice. And we'll give you an opportunity for you to get that graded as well. Okay. Right. So on to today's lesson. Okay. Great. So if you're in the chat, say hello. Hello, Naz. How are you today? I'm very well. Right. So today we're just going to do a little bit of vocabulary, and I'm hoping to get a bit of interaction with you guys in the chat and to share more vocabulary. So I've got a few ideas to get us started, but as we go along, you can always add your questions, add the words that you know. Let's try and build on our vocabulary. So hello everyone, excellent. We've got lots and lots of people joining us. This is really exciting. Excellent. Okay, so let's start off. So today what we're going to do is we're going to think about some common ailments. So an ailment is an illness, a sickness, a health issue that you might have. So we're going to look at some common ones that you might be able to use in the exam, and to talk about symptoms. So symptoms are the health issues that allow you to find out the type of disease or illness that you have. Okay. I'm going to read you a little text all to do with the hospital, and we're going to learn some vocabulary about that. Oh, excellent. So I'm going to totally mispronounce your name. So is it Nguyen? You're going to have to come on a mock speaking test and tell me how to say your name properly. You said you've already shared my channel, our channel, with your English group. That's really nice. Thank you so much. That's what we want. We want to reach as many people as we can, because Michael and I, we have a lot of fun doing this. Yeah, if you see any of our old videos, we're quite the fools. We enjoy ourselves far too much doing this. So yeah, we're going to have some vocabulary in a little text about the hospital. We're going to look at some vocabulary to do with nutrition and lifestyle. We're also going to look at some idioms. So it says idioms and phrasal verbs, but it's just going to be idioms. But perhaps we can think of phrasal verbs together. We're also going to look at some common collocations. These are words that naturally go together, particularly in phrases to do with health. And then I have some practice questions for you at the end, and I'm hoping that some of you will be able to talk about this. So remember, if you're watching us, let's go back slightly to the video. So if you're watching us on the video, make sure that you click on the live button, and that means that you can interact with me in real time, because I am here to help, and if you have any questions, make sure that you do. And the other thing you can do is, if you appreciate the videos, you give us a like, because every time we get a like, Michael does a little dance. Okay, so let's jump into it. Right, so what we have here are a list of ailments and symptoms. So first of all, which ones are ailments and which ones are symptoms? Now, why does that say ailment? It should be ailments. Let's go back to it. So which ones are ailments and which ones are symptoms? Are the ailments the list on the right, or are ailments the list on the left? I'll give you a little moment to think about that. So what do we think? Are the ailments the list on the left or right? So what do we think? I'll give you a few seconds to put your answers into the chat. Okay, so 3, 2, 1. So the ailments, the illnesses, the health issues, these would really be the ones listed on the left here, and the ones on the right are more symptoms that would point to your ailments. Okay, so I hope that you've been paying attention to what's on screen, because now we're going to go through them, and hopefully in the chat you can quickly type what you think the picture shows. So this is both illnesses, ailments, and symptoms. So we've got a little guy there. He's not doing too well. He's got bandages everywhere. But out of the list of words, what could we use to describe this guy? If you're joining me in the chat, then put in a comment. What describes this guy's ailment? What's wrong with him? Hopefully everyone can hear me and see what's on the screen. If you can hear me fine, say yes or perfect or good volume in the chat. So, right, so this guy, this is what we would say a broken bone or a fractured bone. So, yeah, Rupinder, you're absolutely right. So, we can have a fractured leg, a fractured shoulder, you can have a skull fracture, that would be his head. You might fracture your fingers or break your thumb. So this guy's not having a very good time at all. What's up with this guy then? So I briefly showed you the list earlier on of the words, but what's wrong with the guy on the screen? There's perhaps a few ways you could describe what's wrong with him. Hello. How are you today? Thanks for joining us. So we have a man on the screen. He's not very well. He's got something on his eye. Something wrong with him. What would be the issue he has? If you think you know, put it in the chat. If you can't remember or you don't know the right word, just say, I don't know. Give you a little bit of time, because there is a bit of a delay. Remember, if you click on the YouTube video and you click where it says live, you can watch this live. Rupinder is on a roll. Yeah, it's a bruise. Now, a bruise is generally, when you hurt yourself and you get maybe like a purple or a blue injury. Often if you've fallen over or something. But there's a special word for when it's on your eye. Perhaps you've been playing rugby and you got hit, or perhaps someone threw a cricket ball and it just caught you in the eye. That happened when I was a child. My brothers, they weren't very safe. This is called a black eye. So if you're in perhaps a fight, or you have an injury, you get a black eye. But everywhere else it's called a bruise, if you fall over. Okay, so what's wrong with this guy? Definitely not feeling too happy. Now I'm pretty sure that Rupinder is going to get this as well, but if you think you can answer before Rupinder. Oh, he's too good. Sunburn, excellent. That's it, sunburn. To get sunburn, to be sunburned, sunburnt. If it ends with ed, it's American English. If it ends with t, that's British English. Sometimes we call, particularly Caucasian people, white people, who get very badly sunburned, call them lobsters, because they go all pink and red. And we also say that your skin begins to peel, like peeling the skin from an apple. Your skin begins to peel after you recover from this. Okay, what's happening with our guy here? So it's not lightning bolts coming from his back, but it's something else. So if you think you can remember the word that I showed you at the very beginning, Or do you think you can guess from the picture? Hello, Prince. Thanks for joining us. So we're talking about vocabulary to do with health. So we're just starting off with some ailments, illnesses, symptoms. And Rupinder's got it again. Backache. Yeah. So lots of things ache. But we also have another word which we'll see later, which is sore. So not every part of your body can ache. There are lots of parts. Heartache, for example, foot ache perhaps, but you wouldn't say finger ache. You would say my finger hurts. Okay, so what is the illness, the ailment that this little boy has? And remember that later on we're going to try and use this vocabulary. We're going to use it today, and we're going to also, at the end of the week on Sunday, we're going to live stream a full mock exam, which will have health-based questions in at least part of the exam. So a runny nose, Prince, a runny nose, yeah. It's a good guess, but I think Rupinder's got this one. It's flu, but runny nose is coming up. Yeah, flu, influenza, not to be confused with a cold. A cold is you still feel quite bad, but you're able to get up, you're probably able to go to work. But if you have the flu, it's much more serious. Okay, not a very common ailment, but it does happen. It could happen here. I was walking the other day in my town by the river, and I did see this animal on the road right in front of me. A very long green snake. But what's happened to the man? What would he tell the doctor? What has he got? Yeah, it's a snake bite. A snake bite. Again, it may not be very common. It depends where you're from. Do you guys have snake bites? Do you have snakes where you live? Here in Taiwan, we do. We have a lot of snakes. But where I'm from, the UK, we do have snakes. Vipers, they're called. Adders. Adders probably. Do we have vipers? Probably adders. But I'd never seen them. I'm from London. I've never seen a snake before, but I see them quite often here. Is that so, Prince? You're saying in the forest you have snakes? Okay. So what's happening to the little boy now? So Rupinder, you have a lot of snakes. Okay. Are they? Do you come across them in town, or is it really you have to go out in the countryside to see them? Because I saw this snake in a very built-up area. I was very surprised. Yeah, so we've got a headache. And notice the spelling. Backache, headache, it's one word. Yeah. Excellent, Leanne, you got it as well. Brilliant. Okay, we'll move through these quite quickly now. So we've already had backache. So what exactly is wrong with this guy? Where is the pain exactly? And can we use the word ache? Or do we have to use a different word? Yep, the pain's in the shoulder, exactly. But how would we describe that? We could say my shoulder hurts. I've got we could say shoulder pain. But if you were telling the doctor, you would say, I've got a sore shoulder. So yeah, so it's one of those things. Van Tran, it's one of those things. We can't say ache for everything. We can say headache. We can say stomach ache. We can say backache, heartache if you've fallen in love and then out of love. But other things are sore or they hurt. So a sore finger, a sore throat. If your back of your mouth is painful, sore throat. So you got to learn which part of the body you can say ache for and which you can't. Okay, this one is a tricky one. This one's a tricky one. It's a little bit higher level vocabulary. So it was on the list at the beginning of this section. But can anyone guess? So it's pain at the top of your nose, inside your head. So just behind your eyes, where your nose is. So part of the body. But it is quite a high level phrase. I wonder if anyone can remember or they know this word. And don't forget, we're going live every single day in July. Each week we're going to have a theme. We're going to look at every part of the exam, different questions, and really try and give you a bit of a boost in July. And we're going to organise a full practice test every single Sunday, and it will be streaming all day long, so you can get it any time zone you're in. Okay, so this is sinus pressure. So your sinus is basically the area behind your nose, behind your eyes, and often when you have headaches or you have flu, this can hurt. So you can have sinus pressure, or maybe a blocked sinus as well. So this is quite a high level word here. Okay, so this guy has got a fever or a temperature or high temperature. Here, this person has got seasonal allergies. Now, I wonder, does anyone know quite a common seasonal allergy, which certainly in Europe, lots of people get this during the summer. Now, I don't know if this is so common around the rest of the world. Probably. I'm not too sure. But certainly in the summer in the UK, lots of people suffer from allergies, and it has a particular name. Does anyone know what it is? It's 2 words. First word, something that horses eat. And the second word is actually the previous health issue that we had. It's actually called hay fever. Hay fever. So hay fever is when you get an issue from flowers. So flowers have something called pollen, pollen. This is what the bees get covered in, and they fly to another flower, and it helps the flower grow and produce more flowers. So pollen, and people are allergic to pollen, and it makes them sneeze, and they get blocked sinuses and perhaps develop a headache. So this is a seasonal allergy. You can be allergic to many things. So growing up, I was allergic to dust. which is quite unpleasant. It's the accumulation of dead skin in the house. Very unpleasant. Dust. Okay, this is a hilarious one. Does anyone remember what is the issue that this young lady might be suffering from? And it's not actually to do with her many spots and pimples. So if you think you know, yeah, you got it. Well, you haven't got it, but you've got the right answer. Both of you. Diarrhea. Now, this is one of those tricky ones. In the US, they spell it without an O. But apparently in the UK, we have more O in diarrhea. Now, here's a challenge, okay? I think we know what diarrhea is. It's quite unpleasant, and it can have you in the bathroom for a long time, quite often. But does anyone know the opposite? What's the reverse of diarrhea? What would be the opposite issue? When you can't actually go to the bathroom. Now, this is quite an unpleasant topic, perhaps. It's a bit funny to talk about, but it is very useful vocabulary. Does anyone know the opposite of diarrhea? So, just some slang for diarrhea. You can, instead of saying diarrhea, you can say to have the runs, as in to run. Mary's got the runs. Or the trots, to have the trots. So TROTTS, to have the trots, the runs or the trots. And the opposite of this would be constipation. Constipation would be the opposite of this. Okay, so I think someone already guessed this. A runny nose. So if you have a cold, you might have, yeah, Rupenda, you got it, constipation. Yeah, you are you training to be a doctor? You are very good at this vocabulary. So a runny nose, when you have liquid snot, SNOT, snot coming out of your nose, it's dripping, very unpleasant. This person has the chills. They're feeling particularly cold. Perhaps it's not actually cold outside, but they're feeling the cold. And this person has nausea, feeling nauseous, nauseated. There are lots of forms of this word. So to have nausea, to feel nauseated, you could say. What about this lady? What's wrong with this lady? What's the symptom that she's feeling? So if you're still with us, so for nausea, so to have nausea, so it would be a noun. To feel nauseous, adjective, nauseated, adjective, but nauseous is a noun. So this lady, she has dizziness. She feels dizzy. So dizziness, to feel dizzy. And this young guy, obviously in a lot of pain, has a stomach ache. This interesting looking guy here has got a cough. A cough. So it's a strange spelling. GH gives a F sound, cough. Now this guy here has got what's called a stuffed up nose or stuffy nose. So if you've ever had that feeling, so the opposite of a runny nose, when you blow your nose and you can't seem to clear your nose, it feels congested, it's not easy to breathe through it. That's a stuffed up nose. I've got a stuffed up nose, or my nose feels a bit stuffy. Yeah. Here we've got a guy who's got watery eyes or itchy eyes, which I don't know what that is a symptom for, but it certainly is a symptom. This interesting guy, what's he about to do? If you think you know what this guy's about to do, I don't know if he's singing or something else. Well, I don't know. I think the vocabulary Naz is it's fairly common, I suppose. It's going to be useful. It's everyday vocabulary. You can certainly use it. Yeah. So this guy is not singing, Rupinder. He is certainly sneezing. And what's up with this young lady? The clue is the fire, but the other organ, the body organ there, is actually what we call a red herring. Herring, Herring. It's a fish, but a red herring, the expression to give someone a red herring, it's when you give them a clue or a tip which actually leads them in the wrong direction. A red herring, because it's heartburn, but that's obviously a stomach. It's exactly the same, Rupinder, as you said. Acidity, sort of acid reflux, perhaps. Acid reflux, REFLUK, reflux. Okay, and finally, I think this poor devil is vomiting, or to throw up. So to throw up is a phrasal verb. It's more informal, but to vomit would be the medical term, we could say. It's what a doctor might say rather than throw up. Yeah. Okay. So this brings us to a little story. Okay, so at the hospital. The last time I had to go to hospital was when I was a child. I was rushed to the ER by ambulance with a broken leg, but I still had to wait around for hours in the waiting room before they gave me a shot to stop the pain. When the doctor who was on call finally did his consultation, he said that I had a major break in my lower leg and wanted to confirm with an x-ray. He actually joked that I might need to have the leg amputated, which was quite mean. A nurse actually gave him quite a dirty look. When the results came back, the ER doctor said that they would have to reset the leg and put it in a cast. He also said that despite the medication he'd given me, the leg would still be a bit tender during the procedure. Walking would be difficult, but he would give me some crutches to get about on. After the doctor had finished, he gave my mum a prescription for antibiotics and painkillers, which she could get filled at the local pharmacy or chemist, and a note to give to the local GP. When it was all over, she wheeled me down to the canteen in a wheelchair for some ice cream. Excuse me. So the first question is, do you think the story is true? And the second question is, can you see it clearly enough on screen? I think what I might do, I want to just zoom in a little bit. Let's see if we can do that. Let's see if that actually shows up a little bit better. Possibly hopefully this will be a bit bigger on our screens now. Hopefully this will be easier to see if you're reading this on your phone. So what do you think? Is this a true story? Did this really happen to me? Or was it just a ploy to use some vocabulary in context? What do you think? Okay, so if you read through this, you'll see some words which are in bold. They're slightly darker. Yeah, Rupinder, you're right. I made it from my imagination. I totally invented it. But it could happen to anyone. Okay, so to be rushed to the ER. So the ER stands for emergency room. In the UK, we actually call it A and E, accident and emergency. But this, for some reason, came out in very American English for the most part. Because I'm British, so I'm bilingual. I speak British English and American English. But the ER, or the A and E, is the place you go where you've had an accident and you need to get medical assistance quite quickly. But the phrase to be rushed to the ER, that's quite a good collocation. It means that you're taken there rather quickly with haste. An ambulance, if you don't know, is the vehicle, the emergency vehicle, that you're taken to hospital in. Has a flashing light, and it can get you there quite quickly. The waiting room is the room where you have to wait in order to see a doctor. To give me a shot, so to have a shot, to be given a shot, this means to have an injection or to get some medicine or drugs. Often it's something to help with the pain, or it could be a vaccination, for example, something to help you fight a disease, or it could just be something that you get as a routine every so often. After a couple of years, you need to get another vaccination or another dose of medicine to help you fight disease. In the second paragraph, we had the phrase on call. An on-call doctor is one which so the doctor would be in the hospital or close by waiting to be called if there's an emergency. If you've ever seen any of the doctor dramas, they often, in the United States at least, they often have to sleep in the hospital and they have very long shifts. A consultation, this is with a doctor where you tell them your symptoms and they would diagnose you and give you a diagnosis of what disease or illness you might have, as well as a recommendation. So you can say to consult with a doctor. An X-ray, if you don't know, is a piece of equipment which is able to penetrate the body and to get an image of the skeleton, the bones. So if you have like our friend down here, he might need an X-ray in order to see the fractures. Amputated, to amputate, this is when you cut off a limb. A limb, L-I-M-B. A limb is actually an arm or a leg. It can also be a branch on a tree. So to amputate is to cut things off. And then we have a nurse. So a nurse, a man or a woman who assists a doctor, and they don't have the same level of degree, perhaps. So hi Rakav. So you got all those. So CT scan, MRI. I mean, I know all of my my hospital vocabulary from watching Grey's Anatomy. If you have a Netflix or anything like that, it was a series maybe 10 years ago. Grey's Anatomy. It's Grey Anatomy. And this is great if you want to practice your medical vocabulary and American English. So moving on. So the nurse gave him quite a dirty look. To give someone a dirty look is when you look at them and you're trying to say what you're saying is wrong, or you're behaving the wrong way, or I don't like you. A dirty look. So results, medical results, X-ray results, CT scan results, MRI results, and RVG. I don't know what an RVG is. You'll have to explain that to me the next time that we speak, Rekav. I don't know what that means. Okay. So to reset a leg, to reset a bone, is when it's broken, you align it so it's straight, so that it can mend, it can fix itself. If you leave a broken limb and don't reset it, it will cause problems. A cast is like what's on his foot. So it's made from a material. You lay layers of bandages down, it becomes hard over time, and when you're a kid you can write rude messages on it for your friend to embarrass them in front of their parents. Obviously I never did that. So medication, in the UK we often say medicine, whereas in the UK they say drugs. Drugs in the UK really just refers to illegal drugs, but in the US it's for anything. And medication is another term for this. To be a bit tender, when you're referring to health, it means when something is a little bit sore, it still hurts. So if you're recovering from an injury, you've fallen over or cut yourself, it can be tender, it can hurt. And then crutches, or I should say procedure first. A medical procedure can be anything from putting a cast on to surgery to removing some sort of skin growth, something unpleasant on your face. A procedure, to carry out a medical procedure. And then crutches is what he's got here. It's something to help you walk, made from wood or metal. So crutches. Then we have a prescription. A prescription is something that the doctor writes, which tells you a list of medicine that you need to have, and you can go to a pharmacy or chemists. Now pharmacy is American English, chemists is British English, and this is a place that has lots of medication that they can sell you, and some types of that are antibiotics. So antibiotics, they help you fight certain sort of diseases or fight off infections within your body. They help you build antibodies, and then painkillers are things that stop pain. Now we've got local GP here, and in the UK a GP stands for General Practitioner. This is your local physician, your local doctor. So yeah, your GP in the UK means your family doctor. Then we have the canteen in the hospital, which is an area to eat, and a wheelchair. This is a chair with wheels, which you can walk through. You can sit on and people push you. You can't walk on it. Okay, so that's a little story using some vocabulary in context. Don't forget, if you've got any questions at any time, I'm looking at the chat as I talk, so please do ask any questions, or if you can think of some additional words for anything, put them down there. We're here to share, we're here to learn from each other. Okay, so just some phrases about nutrition and lifestyle. It's a bit of a reading test. Well, yeah, Navdeep, funny you should say that. So coming up this week, we will be doing some reading, and there's a big exam on Sunday. We will be live streaming a full IELTS exam for you guys to practice. Yeah, so you can do that, you can practice. We'll be streaming it, I think, all day on Sunday. We're going to try and stream it so it's available at all times, and we're also going to offer a way for you guys to get that graded. Obviously we can give you the listening and reading answers quite easily, but it's kind of difficult. You don't know what's going on. Well, today what we're doing is just looking at some vocabulary to do with health, but each day this week we are going live on this channel at different times, and if after the live stream, if you watch the beginning again, you'll find the website, the IELTSGrind.com, and that is where you can find the schedule. The best thing to do would be to subscribe and to hit the notification bell, and you'll get all our videos. It's 30 days of live streams teaching you live so you can ask us questions. So welcome, thanks for joining us. So which one is easier and quicker to adopt, American accent or British? It's a difficult question to answer, Naz, because for one, there is more than just one American or British accent. I would say there are more British accents, but we actually did a video about this last year, Michael and I, and we came to the conclusion that an American accent is easier to pick up because, well, there are fewer different types of American accents. There are 4 main areas, and perhaps the American accent is slightly easier to adopt because, I don't know, it's just easier, I think. To give you an example, many famous actors in Hollywood right now are actually British, and you wouldn't know because they can do a very convincing American accent. There are very, very few people from America who can do a convincing British accent. So if you watch that video where I think it's called "What is the best accent, American or British?" and in that video Michael tries to do a British accent and I try and do an American accent, and it's not too bad. That's pretty bad. Yeah. So you say you like the British accent, yeah. But here's the thing. It doesn't matter. The American accent or the British accent, it doesn't matter which one you listen to more. And for most students, you really don't need to have a native accent. What you need to concentrate on are things like word stress, sentence stress, intonation, perhaps practicing some of the sounds that do exist in English, like the th and the th sound, the th sound, which may not exist in your language. But yeah, we came to the conclusion that the American accent is the easiest to adopt because, I don't know, it's not as complex as the British accent, and we have a lot of British accents. I'm from London, and there are about 10 different accents from London. Okay, so on to these phrases. I try to eat a balanced diet. So a balanced diet is a phrase for nutrition. I'm watching my figure. To watch your figure means to try and reduce your intake of food, not to put on weight. It's important to get your 5 a day. So this expression, to get your 5 a day, this means 5 portions of fruit and vegetables. So years ago, the government started to say that we need to eat 5 portions of fruit and veg. So to get your 5 a day, that's what it means. Can you have a mix of accents? It's possible. It's possible. My wife, actually, she spent 10 years in the United States. She's from Taiwan. And when she met me, she had a very strong American accent. And now, since, getting married and living with me for so long, she says things like trousers instead of pants and things like that, nappies instead of diapers. So sometimes she does mix it up a bit. It shouldn't matter too much for most students. What you definitely don't want to mix though, Naz, is the spelling. If you spell, for example, diarrhea without an O, and then diarrhea with an O later on, that would be an issue. Yeah, so watching your figure, it is thinking about what you're eating. It's more about food consumption, and it's not so much about exercise, it's about consumption. Yeah, so I'm watching my figure is about, I'm not going to eat lots of cakes and sweet things. I'm going to eat healthily and not have lots and lots of food. Okay, so lots of these phrases mean similar things. I like to know the number of calories in all my meals. So calories, the energy in food, and as you know, if you take in more energy or calories, you put on weight if you don't exercise. I'm not into crash dieting or fasting. It's unhealthy. So crash diets. A crash diet is one where you try and do an extreme diet to lose weight very, very quickly. So things like the Atkins diet, which I don't do it, but I believe all you do is eat meat for a couple months, and it's meant to help you shed pounds. Fasting is the complete opposite. To fast is when you don't eat at all. So there is another diet where you fast periodically. So periodically, it's you don't fast all the time, but you may not eat on one day, and the next day you can eat, and so on. So crash dieting and fasting. It's a lifestyle. I like to work out every day before class. To work out, to go to the gym, to do exercise. Of course, this is not true. Do you want to hit the gym later? To hit the gym means to visit the gymnasium, to go to the sports club. Yeah. It's important to get your blood pumping to fight off heart disease and stay healthy. So to get your blood pumping, this is when we're talking about exercise, to raise your pulse, P-U-L-S-E. The pulse is your heart beating, and you can feel it in your wrist, on your hand, or in your neck. You can feel a pulse. To get your blood pumping really means to raise your pulse above the normal limit, and people feel healthy if they get their blood pumping. It can also mean to get your blood up means to be angry. To get your blood pumping is about exercise. To get your blood up, to get angry. And we've got a nice collocation, fight off disease. Fight off diseases to prevent disease. I'm a bit of a couch potato, and I don't get much exercise really. Okay. So a couch potato is someone that doesn't really do a lot of exercise and perhaps, sits on the sofa or couch all day watching TV, not very active. And I'm kind of out of shape, but I'm trying to drop a few pounds this summer. So to be out of shape is an idiom, and it means not to be fit and healthy. Perhaps to be a little overweight, or not to be able to run for very long, or you get out of breath if you exercise. And to drop a few pounds, it means to lose weight. And often we use the expression pounds rather than kilograms, just because in the UK at least we use the imperial system, which is pounds, ounces, stones, etc. Okay, so just a few phrases that you could use to talk about nutrition and lifestyle. If you do have any more, don't forget you can leave a comment in the live chat, or if you're watching this later on, leave a comment and share the vocabulary that you know with other people. The best way to boost your vocabulary is to work with others and to tell each other what you already know. Okay, so we're going to look at idioms here. It says phrasal verbs, but in fact I just put a list of idioms. So, as fit as a fiddle. To be as fit as a fiddle. So a fiddle is another word for a violin. And why are violins healthy? I don't know. But I think it's because of the alliteration. F, fit as a fiddle. It has a nice ring to it. So to be as fit as a fiddle means that you are someone who is in shape. You exercise a lot. You feel healthy. Alive and kicking. So this would be something that you would say, perhaps you thought someone had died or someone was nearly dead. But if you describe them as alive and kicking, it means that they're very much alive. They're actually quite healthy. Under the knife. To go under the knife. So this afternoon I have to go under the knife. It means that you need an operation or surgery. To be under the weather. Now I know that Naz, she definitely knows this one, because she's used it before. To feel under the weather, to be under the weather. If you know this one, I'm going through these fairly quickly, but if you do know this one, put it into the chat. What does it mean? If Naz is still watching, she can tell us. To be back on one's feet. So we may describe ourselves as under the weather, which so it's not feeling sad. Under the weather just means to feel ill, to feel sick. You would say, I'm feeling down, I'm feeling blue, I'm out of sorts. That would be feeling sad. But under the weather is sick. And after you feel sick, you are back on your feet. You've recovered from the sickness. To be green around the gills, we would say, oh, you look a bit green around the gills. Now, a gill is actually what a fish breathes through. And obviously humans don't have gills, but when you say you're green around the gills, it means you look a bit sick. You look ill. You don't look very well today. So often we say, if you're in a situation where perhaps you're seeing something that's a little bit disgusting, a little bit unpleasant. So I don't know, if you went to an old market, perhaps where they're chopping up meat or something, and you're not used to that, you might say to your friend, "Oh, you're looking a bit green around the gills," as if they're going to throw up. A clean bill of health. If you go to the doctor for a consultation and they say everything's fine, they give you a clean bill of health. A picture of health. So this is to describe someone who looks particularly healthy. So you might say, "Oh, have you seen John recently? I heard that he was feeling a bit under the weather." "Oh, no, he's a picture of health. He looks fine." To have a spring in one's step. So this can mean that you're feeling quite healthy. It can also just mean you're quite happy. Someone with a spring in their step is someone that has a lot of energy, perhaps. They're obviously not feeling any effects from illness or anything like that. So happy, healthy, basically. To have a new lease on life. So this would be an expression that we use when someone perhaps has been extremely ill and they've recovered from a long illness, and now they are feeling much better, and they are, in particular, they're trying to live life a little bit more. Have a new lease on life is you're feeling much better than you did before about health, about any situation really. As pale as a ghost. When you look at someone, their skin looks very, very, very white. It doesn't have a lot of colour in it. They are feeling quite ill. To have a frog in one's throat. So this is when it's difficult to talk. You can't speak clearly because you have a lot of mucus in your throat, and you're not speaking clearly, and we say it's like a frog. It's blocking your speech. To turn one's stomach. This is when you see something disgusting, or you smell something that's disgusting, or you hear something that disgusts you. So it's not necessarily just for health, but it's something that makes you feel physically ill. As sick as a dog, sick. As sick as a parrot, sick. So it's just an expression. Why would you use this idiom? Well, if you just said, "Oh yes, I was very sick that day," that's fine. But by using idiomatic language, among other things, your score in the speaking could get above a band 7. It's one of the things you need to do in order to get a band 7 in vocabulary. So if you said to the examiner, "Oh, I was as sick as a dog that day," it's better than "I was sick," because you're using idiomatic language. Now there are many other things you need to do as well, but this is one of the things. And at death's door, you're extremely ill. So ill, it's likely you're going to die. Sorry about that. Okay, so just a list of idioms. So it's a good idea to take a topic like this, health, and just to learn idioms, and then to try and put them into sentences and to use them. Now, I do have a list of idioms here, but just having a list of idioms won't help you. You need to try and use them actively as much as you can, okay? Right, so let's move on and talk about some collocations, okay? So I've got some collocations on the left. So to go into hospital for an operation. So the collocation are things like the verbs and the nouns that naturally go together. So we wouldn't say to have into hospital for an operation, to drive into hospital for an operation, to walk into hospital for an operation. It's to go into hospital, okay? To be treated in hospital, to keep someone in hospital overnight, to be discharged from hospital. So just some example sentences. I have to go into hospital for an operation next week. Did you hear Mary's being treated in the hospital for her back? Sorry. Did you hear Mary's being treated in the hospital for her bad back? They had to keep Billy in overnight after his fall. You'll be discharged just as soon as we finish this paperwork. So the thing to notice here, really is we can sometimes leave out certain words. Okay, so for example, to keep someone in hospital overnight, they had to keep Billy in overnight after his fall. If we know the context is about hospital, we don't have to say hospital. But the collocation, the words to keep someone in overnight, that still remains. And the same here, you'll be discharged just as soon as we finish this paperwork. We don't have to say from hospital because the context we know is hospital. Some more examples for you. So don't forget, you can go back and watch this video and write these down. You can pause if you need to. But you can watch this live, and if you have any questions, you can always ask. So we have a bad headache, a splitting headache, it gives me a headache, a dull ache, a nagging ache, a muscular ache. And some examples. I've got a bad headache this morning. How about you? That music has given me a splitting headache. I don't like ice cream because it gives me a headache. Doctor, I have dull ache behind my eyes. It's probably my sinus. I had this nagging ache for about a month now. It might be serious. Whenever I work out, I get muscular ache in my back. So you can see that this is just how we use the collocation in context. But these are good phrases. A dull ache. A dull ache is not a very intense pain. A nagging ache is one that doesn't stop. You have it for a long, long time. A bad headache, okay, it's pretty bad, but splitting headache, that is particularly painful. And just a few more. A nasty cough, a persistent cough, get rid of a cough, catch a cold, come down with the flu. Oh dear, that sounds like a really nasty cough you have there. If you develop a persistent cough, please come back and see me. Don't drink this herbal tea to get rid of your cough fast. Might be an advert. Drink this herbal tea to get rid of your cough fast. You'll catch a cold if you don't get out of those wet clothes. Joy has come down with the flu and is tucked up in bed. So you can listen back to this and try and practice the way that I've said it. If you listen to a native practicing sentences and try to mimic them, copy them, this is a great way to improve your accent. Not necessarily to pick up a British accent, but to practice the rhythms of the language. Where do I put the stress? Where do I put the intonation? What speed does it happen at? And let's try and put all that together, and I'm hoping for a little bit of interaction from the chat. If you're still with me, if you're still awake, if it's still useful to you, leave some comments and I'll try and answer these questions. If you haven't given us a like on the video, do that, because it does help us spread the word with the YouTube gods who don't really like us that much. We're trying to reach more people to help them. So let's do some practice questions. Did you ever fall ill when you were a child? Okay. So did you ever fall ill when you were a child? That's the first question. What's the best remedy for a cold? So a remedy is a cure. It's perhaps not medicine necessarily, but it's a way to cure something. How did your parents look after you when you were ill as a child? How can people lead healthier lives? Should the government force people to eat a balanced diet? And who is responsible for an individual's health, them or society? Rekav, fell or fall? Do you mean asleep? To fall asleep in general? So normally when Phil's talking, I fall asleep. It's a fact. What happened to you yesterday? I fell asleep because Phil was very boring. It happened in the past. Not to be confused, as many students write, felt. I felt asleep. It's F-L-E-L-T. That would be incorrect. It's to fall or fell. It's not feel. You would feel sleepy. I felt sleepy. Does that answer the question, Raghav? And if it does, can you answer any of my questions? So these are the practice questions. And the thing is, if you want, at any time, you can record yourself answering questions, and you can send us a link. If you recorded yourself, put it onto a YouTube video, and you can make these unlisted so nobody can find them unless you send them the link. And you can send it to us at corrections@theieltsgrind.com. You can find that email address in the description, and we will have a look at it and we'll give you some feedback. And we can do that live on a video, or if you don't want it live on a video, you can tell us, I just want some feedback, and you can actually practice that. But if you do want to talk to me in person, as it were, this Friday evening I will be doing some practice mock speaking tests, and then on Saturday Michael is going to have a nice relaxing chat with some of you in the Discord group, where we're going to have some questions. He'll give you some feedback, some corrections. Yeah. Okay, so Guyen said, yes, I did. So, did you ever fall ill when you were a child? Yes, I did. I used to have malnutrition when I was a kid. I was super skinny, and I got rid of it when I found the way how to eat and did some exercise. So you might want to change it a little bit. So yes, I did. I used to have malnutrition. The reason we say used to have rather than used to had is because used to works in the same way as modal verbs like can, would, should, where the next verb is always the infinitive without to. So, for example, to have, get rid of the to, it's have. So I used to have malnutrition when I was a kid. I was super skinny, and I got rid of it. I got over it. I think I got over it when I found the way to eat and do some exercise. Found the way to eat and do some exercise. Good, excellent. So what's the best remedy for a cold? Raghav says the best remedy for a cold is prevention. So prevention is better than the cure. Moreover, I can go PCM. Is that a type of medication or antibiotics in the third generation? So the best remedy for a cold is prevention, as it is better than a cure. So the best remedy for a cold is prevention, as it is better than a cure. Moreover, we can take PCM or antibiotics. I'm not sure what you mean by the third generation. Third generation of what? The antibiotics or people? I'm not quite sure what you mean there. No, you don't have to be sorry for grammar mistakes. This is why we're here. We're here to practice. There are no mistakes. We're just learning. And the best thing about the IELTS is most people only need a 6.5. Most people. And in speaking, you can make lots of mistakes in grammar and vocabulary and still get a 6.5, even get a 7. So if you're not making mistakes, it's because you're not trying hard enough and you're not learning. Everybody makes mistakes. My brother has spoken English for more than 30 years. He still makes mistakes. I still make mistakes. We all make mistakes. So never worry about that. If you were perfect, I would not be doing this live stream. There would be no point. So we're all here to learn. Yeah. Okay. Would anyone like to have a crack at any of the other questions? To have a crack at, to try. So we may see some of these questions on Friday. So it's a good practice. Okay, so Taman says, in my country, some people used herbal medicine like ginger, orange, and so on to reduce the symptoms of cold. Okay, so have a look at your grammar, because just with your choice of grammar, you're giving me a particular message. So from what you've said, I would believe that it doesn't happen now. But if you were trying to tell me it's a habit or it's a fact, you just need to remove one letter from one verb and you would change the message that you give me. Because that's all grammar is. Grammar is just a message. We change the grammar because we want the listener to understand a slightly different message. So which verb do we need to change in order to say that it's a fact rather than just something that happened in the past? So I'm looking in the live chat if you're joining us now, and I'm looking at that's it, yeah. So we should say, in my country some people use herbal medicine like ginger, orange, and so on to reduce the symptoms of a cold. So cold is a noun, so we need to use the article but that's a really good answer. I like that. And so on, to reduce the symptoms. That's an excellent phrase. I like that a lot. So we've got a couple more questions. So the first 3 questions: did you ever fall ill when you were a child? What's the best remedy for a cold? How did your parents look after you when you were ill? These are the kind of questions you might find in part 1. They're very much about you. It's an interview kind of question. But how can people lead healthier lives? Should the government force people to eat a balanced diet? Who is responsible for an individual's health, them or society? These are kind of more abstract questions. They would probably be in part 3. And they're general questions about society, not so much about you. Okay, so Rasitha, I may be saying your name wrong. I do apologise. You said my parents was worried when I am getting sick always, and they were looked after me, giving all kinds of medicine. So I would change this a little bit. I would say my parents were worried. So my parents were worried when I got sick. Or perhaps my parents were worried when I always got sick, and they looked after me, giving me all kinds of medicines. So my parents were worried when I always got sick in the past, and they looked after me, giving me all kinds of medicines. So we don't have to say they were looked after, because when we say they were looked, it's almost like a passive sentence, but we wouldn't say it like that. It's they did this thing, so you want to say they looked after me. It's just a normal sentence in the past simple. But yeah, great. I like that. I like the phrase to look after someone. Excellent. To give medicines. Good. And to get sick. You just want to talk about the facts. So if you're talking about facts, events, we're using past simple. If you're talking about something that was in progress in the past or present, happening, we would use I am getting sick. It's happening now. But I think you want to talk about excuse me, I think you just want to talk about facts, things that happened. So past simple. Excellent. So would anyone like to have another go at any of these questions? I will maybe give an answer for a few of them. So did you ever fall ill when you were a child? So what I want to do is directly answer the question and give some supporting details. So to be honest with you, I was quite a sickly child. I was fairly underweight as a child, and this led to quite a few ailments. But I had a very good doctor, and I soon grew out of it. So to be a sickly child, sickly, this means to be ill. Okay, so in the chat, I would say 2 things that are important to have healthier lives are diet and exercise. If we can manage them, we probably have a good health. Okay, so I would say that there are 2 things that are important. I would say that there are 2 things that are important. And then I would say, possibly I would say, namely, to have healthier lives. So I would say that there are 2 things that are important to have healthier lives. Namely, they are diet and exercise. So I would say there are 2 things that are important to have healthier lives. Namely, they are diet and exercise. That's good. We could add to that. By this I mean having a balanced diet and getting your blood pumping at least 30 minutes a day. If we can manage these rather than them, we would probably have better health, because we're comparing right now to if we did this, we would probably have better health. But yeah, that's great. That's a good answer. You've got a very clear sentence that gives the answer, and then you kind of give supporting sentences to explain it a little bit more. Excellent. Okay, let me try just one more of these, and then possibly we'll say goodbye. So, who is responsible for an individual's health, them or society? Well, that's a difficult question. I've never thought about that before. Let me think. I would have to say that ultimately it is down to an individual to look after their own health. This is because even if society gets involved, there's very little that they can do to force someone to be healthy. That also means that if someone becomes overweight or they develop an unhealthy lifestyle, they can't blame anyone else because it's on their own shoulders. So that's why I think an individual is responsible for their own health. So what I did there is I gave a clear answer, but exactly what I thought the answer was, gave a few details, and then because I didn't want to talk for too long, I summarized by paraphrasing the question. And that's why I think it's down to the individual. So if you ever find yourself kind of running out of things to say, paraphrase the question or the main point, and that's a nice way to naturally end what you're saying. So, responsibility for health should be a collaborative among both parties in which they live. So, we might say the responsibility for health or a healthy lifestyle should be a collaboration between both parties. I don't know if we need the part in which they live, because we're talking about an individual in society. So you might just say the responsibility for a healthy lifestyle should be a collaboration between both parties. And then you go on to explain, what I mean by this is we should support each other as a society to stay healthy, but also as individuals we should take the initiative to actually get up and do exercise and to watch our figure while we're eating. You know, that's perhaps how you would extend that a little bit. Okay, so that's really great. Thank you guys so much for leaving your answers. Now, if you're joining us for the first time, you don't know who we are and what we're doing. So we're the IELTS Grind. We have, well, it's us watching that. This is us, the IELTS Grind. This is the channel you're watching. This is me, Phil, and this is Michael. And what we've promised to do is, if I go to the community tab, I promise that for the next month, we're going live like this every day this month, because it's July and we want to give you guys a mini course. And you can find out about this by going to our website, theieltsgrind.com, and if you click on live stream schedule, you'll find this page. So we're based in Taipei in Taiwan, so this is the time it is here, 9:30. And if you come down here, you'll see, for example, today I started the live stream at 8 o'clock. We were looking at vocabulary, and For the rest of the week, we'll have some listening tomorrow, which I'll do at 3 p.m. We have Michael doing some reading on Wednesday evening. I'm back for writing on Thursday afternoon. Then we have a mock speaking test. This is a really exciting thing, guys, because we've just done the questions in the chat, but that's not the way you take the exam. You have to speak. So what you can do is jump on a live call with me on Zoom or on Google Meets, and you can actually do this in real time. I will pretend to be the examiner, you can pretend to be the student, even though you are the student, and we'll do that for real. If you want a slightly less intense speaking experience, you can join Michael at 5 p.m. on Saturday, so this is Taipei time, and he'll do a group speaking class, a bit more feedback and things like that. And then on Sunday, we are going to be live streaming a full mock exam. That's listening for 40 minutes, reading for 1 hour, writing for 1 hour, and we will do a pre-recorded speaking test that you can practice as you go along. It's the first time we've done this. We're going to see how it works, and we will also give you an opportunity to get your speaking and writing corrected. We will give you the answers to the listening and the reading, of course, but the writing and the speaking, that involves Michael and I actually sitting down and grading it, but we'll give you an opportunity to get that done in a way. And we'll explain all that on Sunday. And then you've got the rest of the month. So we've got lots of live streams coming up. Thank you for joining us today. If you've enjoyed the video, make sure you give us a like. If you have any questions, leave a comment, and I will be back tomorrow at 3 p.m. Taipei time, and we have a listening question, a listening example, and the topic is still going to be health. You can see that we're going to change the topic every week, so this will give you a very in-depth practice of different topics, so you'll be a master in health. Okay guys, thanks for being great students, really enjoy the interaction, and I will see you guys again very soon. Bye bye.